everybody, to another episode of Steel and Whiskey. I'm David Zapka.
Doug Evans.
Doug Evans again. So, repeat, no special guest this time, just regular old Doug.
Special. What was that?
So we got post NASCC wrap up going on this week. So we were at NASCC last week. And just getting back into the office, trying to follow up with everybody. It's been a busy week following up, all that good stuff. I'm sure everybody else going through the same thing, knows how that goes.
First things first.
First things first, yep. A drink. So again, repeat. We got the Whistle Pig here again. It's so good. We had to come back for more. So it's good stuff. I don't know if all you remember this, but I got to tell the story again. I won this off of that with Doug, so we won't go into details.
Just really wanted to buy him whiskey.
Rub it in a little bit more. So,
getting back to Charlotte.
Yeah, we were in Charlotte for NASCC, and you know what? I had never been to Charlotte. Well, I had flown through Charlotte's airport before. I'd never spent any amount of time in Charlotte. I was pleasantly surprised by how nice
great city. It's a great city, great part of the world.
City. Yeah.
And AIC every year, regardless of the year, always says, hey, this is the biggest show. Hey, we've got a ton of people coming.
Yep.
No doubt this year.
Yeah, this year. So so Luke Faulkner with AISC shared with me that so they go off the number of registrants, right? So the number of registrants was around 5,300, which was a record number of attendees. That doesn't account for people that just show up either. So
I felt like a fair number of people did, and it was certainly valuable to the people like us, the exhibitors that were certainly busy.
For sure. Yeah, we were busy. I mean, booth was busy the whole time, right? Constant traffic, people coming in and out. So
we had, all of our sales staff, and at all times, we each had a group of people we were dealing with. So certainly had a lot of great discussions with potential and current customers.
Yep.
So that was always good.
Yeah, I got to come in a day early and spend the afternoon on one of the AISC committee meetings. So that was with the technology integration. So that was interesting. Did a lot of planning for future events and topics and such that can be presented and have sessions on in the future. So that was real interesting to get some of the ideas from others in the industry on some of the trends they're seeing, technologies they're seeing, and ways to present that.
We were a sponsor, and we always love to sponsor AISC and all the events because we align so well with them. And I have been going since probably 92 consecutive. So it's like the 33rd, 34th AISC.
Well,
and this was, I would certainly say, put it in the top 10% of anyone I've ever attended.
Unfortunately, there was a break in there, a couple of years.
Yeah, there was
because of COVID, right?
So but we are. Us, and I think it's maybe Nucor or someone else is the longest standing consecutive exhibitor at that show. So
yeah, interesting.
Lincoln Bolt. I think it's Lincoln Bolt.
Lincoln Bolt. No kidding.
That's us. We were the longest standing consecutive exhibitor.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah, that was.
I always enjoy fun facts like that. So that's interesting. We had the lanyards this year, so we
sponsored the lanyards. And Thursday night. So if you ever go on Thursday night, usually right after the show ends, before the AISC dinner, we host a little cocktail hour for our customers and people we're talking with. So next year, a little exciting. We intend to do that with Bluebeam, which is our sister company, and Reset. Yeah, so we'd have kind of a brand, Nemetschek brand cocktail hour. So hope to see you there next year. It will be in San Antonio.
Yeah, San Antonio. Oh, I love San Antonio. So I've been to San Antonio a couple of times over the last, 5 or 6 years, and that river walk is just outstanding.
Our summit, our user event, was in San Antonio last year. This next year, for those listening, October 11th and 12th, I believe.
Sounds right. Somewhere
in Omaha. Yeah. So we'd love to have you. It's always good. Like the NASCC event, it's always good to reconnect, and it just you can't replace it with anything. It's just having those discussions and things that come up. That's another event. The summit is where you can just get back in touch with people and you learn so much, thinking you'll come for just maybe A or B, then C through Z happen. You just have discussions and learn so much more.
So taking it back to NASCC, we kind of wanted to do a little wrap up here from last week on that. You talked about summit. We hosted the event, kind of talked a little future, but what was the big buzz this year that you noticed at NASCC, or what stood out to you this year?
Those are two different things. I mean, the big buzz robots in our industry continue to be something everybody has questions on: robotic welding, robotic assembly. How do we interact with that? And so that is now, and was and now, and I think will be for a while. How do I put robotic automation into the industry, into my fab shop?
Yeah.
But consistent with that, it was interesting and unexpected. I said this would be the unexpected, where I had a number of customers come and talk about, like our STS2 load planning, logistics, or talk about our site planning. And so, that's interesting of use of technology, right? So we've got this model that fabricators are using to produce detailing and NC equipment, but now they're using it in so many different ways and wanting to, how can I use it to load trucks? How can I use it to make my site more efficient? And in some cases, they were using site planning. This was in 2 cases for bid. So to win the job, really talking about execution, and this is how we're doing it. So might have been a large fabricator working with a big, huge company that's building multiple buildings, saying, here's how I execute. And so that was interesting as well.
That is very interesting. So I think it's interesting how people continue to find ways to use models to be more efficient in their processes, right? So it's always that next thing. Okay, this is implemented. What's the next thing to be more efficient? What's the next thing to be more efficient, right? Yeah, that's interesting you say that. So,
well, and it's and I think people have used it and purchased years ago, would purchase the tool to be better at what our tool specifically did. Now, as we've heard BIM and all this other stuff, it's this 3D database of information, and how can I optimize my operation with all this stuff in there. And we've seen the modeling, people using models to estimate, people using models to route their shop. That was an hour-long rabbit hole I went down with both a detailer and then a fabricator about how do I put data into my model that allows it to route my shop.
So that's really interesting because I also presented at NASCC last week, and the topic was about, let's see, I'm trying to remember the actual name of the session.
The whiskey hasn't got you that quick.
Not yet. Not. Do more with your model.
Right?
Yeah, and
sure.
so what I presented and centered that around was the information that is already within a BIM model, right? So it isn't back in the day when BIM was first. I say back in the day like it was forever, and I'm an old man, but I'm not that old.
Yeah.
So when BIM first started coming onto the scene, it was all about the 3D. Oh, it's 3D. It's 3D. We can share models. We can share a engineering model with architectural, with detailing, all that, right? But it's evolved over the years to that information part of that. And that's what my talk centered around, my presentation centered around, was the information and coming up with ways. I really just kind of presented things in such a way to get the crowd thinking a little bit, right? Like, what's the possibilities? Okay, I see all this information. What can I do with that?
Well, and this is really interesting, and I'll kind of take it on an offshoot, but the fortunate and or unfortunate, depending on optimism, pessimism view you have of life, and I think it's fortunate, but that we are our model. You have architectural models, you have analysis models, you have manufacturing models. Ours is the model that gets built. And so the fortunate thing for our customers is now there's all these massive amounts of questions or coordination or things that is asked of our model, because it's not a conceptual model. It's not will it stand up model. It's what's get built model.
Yeah.
And so that becomes very important in the overall workflow of when you want to center information, whether it's P&ID or process equipment piping, or it has to be around the manufacturing model.
Yeah.
It doesn't do good if you're putting in an architectural engineering, because they're kind of what if scenarios or what we'd like to do. This is what you are doing,
Is what's happening.
and so that becomes, it makes that model then our customers much more important in the workflow.
It is what's happening until the erector gets a hold of it,
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
cutting and chopping it in the field, and then all bets are.
Then we get
Right.
into as-built discussion, and we can talk about the as-built models. Hey, this is what you sent me. This is what happened. Yeah, which does happen.
Yeah. So, yeah, and you know, not so we were busy from a sales perspective inside our booth, customers coming to us all the time, but I also had a ton of potential new development partners
Yeah.
for SDS2 in our booth, right? So a lot of people wanting to know about how they can utilize our API. What's the process? How do we get the information? How can we write, more apps to tap into the information that they can pull from our model and use in different creative ways? So,
And I'll take you back again, the 90 to the 30 years. I always knew all the different people at the different booths, right? They were people that would go and you would see them and you would get to know them. However, in the last 10 years, and I think it goes back to what we were just talking about with the fabricators models with get built, is the partner integration, and that discussion is yet another reason to attend these.
Yeah.
Is because there's so much, you can no longer island yourself or try to, hey, put your data into my thing, and it's an ecosystem.
Yep.
You have to work with all the various stakeholders and software products that are in this industry. And so I found myself, a third of my time is running over to a booth to discuss something integration or some kind of, hey, maybe we should, with another software or hardware or machine company. So yeah, and that makes it fun.
Yeah, it does. And I've already spent a good portion of my week after NASCC following up with these partners and getting them set up with our API and documentation and all this and that. So yeah, I look to probably see some of that come to fruition here over. It'll take a little bit of time, as development always does, but yeah, I think we'll see fruits of that.
And I think that's where
In the near future.
again, going back to in-person events and having those C through Z discussions, that's where you can advance industries, right? You have a couple of different organizations that have their own intelligence, find a way to come together and make and advance an industry.
Yeah.
And so I think that is what's exciting about it. And that's why you keep attending events, and that's why you keep the dialogues open.
Yeah,
sure.
So is there anything that surprised you about the show? Was there anything surprising?
The volume of people was, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
I would say, the largest event that they'd had, not only in attendance, but then the footprint of the people in this industry. All the different exhibitors. I mean, the footprint of the show floor was much larger.
Yeah, I found that interesting. So I would be willing to bet. I haven't been going to the shows as long as you have, but I've been going for a while now. I would say the rate or the amount of new exhibitors, and new people
Stacked.
So first time attendees, first time exhibitors, new stuff out there was pretty surprising to me. In a good way. I was pleasantly surprised, good surprise. Opens opportunities for us to have more development partners and such. So yeah, that was pretty surprising. I hadn't thought about that till just now.
I was a little disappointed in the handouts, which is why I'm wearing the hat. This is the company that was right next to us, Metals USA. Thank you very much. And we had golf balls, which. I think we-
Yeah, I threw them off somewhere.
Well, we gave golf balls away, but, that aside, it was fun to meet and new
Yeah,
companies in the industry.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was, what's good, what's surprising. Doug was disappointed in the handouts. I don't generally go for the handout.
I don't either.
There was a time when I did,
I
but now
my
I
kids
don't.
love the little cars and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
oh, yeah.
The candy, I gotta love the candy. And,
Yep.
and I think this is the first year that where, NASCC, AISC generally gives us a box lunch.
Mhm.
But we had some hot food items. The food was an upgrade in the past.
Well, it was. They did run out of the good looking cilantro rice by the time I got over to that, but understandable. I was so busy that I was way back of the line, probably one of the last ones. So
I'd still like to give them
Understandable.
kudos
it's
for upgrading the box lunch a little bit.
agreed. Kudos, and it's tough to feed 5,300 people.
5,300
Yeah,
people.
that's a
Plus
tall
all the food.
task. So can't really complain too much on that, no matter what
Yeah,
happens.
exactly. And next year, the NACC event is in
San Antonio.
San Antonio.
So I imagine Riverwalk, always a great time. When's the last time it was in San Antonio? It's been about 5 to 6 years.
At
now?
least, yeah, it's been a while.
I'd say.
We have a lot of events in San Antonio, so I never know, can never remember.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular destination, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, so on the way, so I didn't realize this. Go back to this year, Charlotte.
Hmm.
So I never understood where did the Charlotte come from? You remember on the way?
Yeah, on the way, so we're in an
our-
Uber driver.
our Uber driver.
Uber driver knowledge. Queen Charlotte.
It's a Queen.
Charlotte, so if you drive in and out of the Charlotte airport,
Mhm.
there'll be a crown looking structure.
Big statue looking thing, and we couldn't figure it out. And our Uber driver
gives
dropped a little knowledge. It's a crown for Queen Charlotte,
Charlotte.
which is who the city's named after. So you can learn a lot from an Uber driver.
Yeah,
The good ones, you can learn a lot
Yeah.
from that.
been in too many probably.
I was in Charleston, South Carolina one time, and got an Uber driver going downtown, and he just said, older gentleman, so you could tell he's had a few Uber trips, and he just said, well, I know I'm supposed to drop you off here, but you mind if I just take you around on a little tour a little bit? So we went down, what is it, Rainbow Road and out to
that's
the
Danny's
coast, and
place.
he was just pointing out every little single thing, and I think that was better than any tour I could have taken while I was there.
Back in the old
it
days, that was
outstanding.
Taxi driver taking you for a joyride for the fair.
Oh, no, this
I got plenty of those trips without being told.
yeah, this guy didn't want anything. It was just an afternoon. He was killing time, and he enjoyed it probably more than I did.
I think.
I tipped him well for it. Obviously, but yeah, that was yeah, I've learned a lot from Uber drivers over the years. So yeah, it was honestly great show. Busy, new faces, new exhibitors, new opportunities. Yeah, overall outstanding. Just great. The venue was great. Like I said, Charlotte was great. Downtown was great. Our event was great. Had it at, what was that called? The Public
The
House?
public house, and those of you listening, I do appreciate you coming. I hope you enjoyed the time. Do it again next year. And like you've said before, maybe not said on this, but you're either growing or not.
Yeah.
These are a great place to grow and expand your knowledge of the industry. Because you're either advancing your business, you're advancing your professional career, you're advancing,
Mhm.
or you're going back. And so
Yeah.
this is a good place to make sure you're going forward.
Yeah. Always push forward. Absolutely. So, well,
I was, again, highly recommend the Whistle Pig.
yeah, Whistle Pig, I probably gonna pour some more after it's here.
We might.
I can't overindulge too much, but a little bit's okay. So, yeah, I suppose till next time. Huh?
Till next time, for those of you that emailed us during the show, I'm sorry we didn't get back to you. And for those of you who got emails in, we'll get back to you. So, but Thank you again.
All right, yeah. Thanks again. Join us next time.